Hello and welcome to episode 219 of Checkpoint Chat. My name is Alessandro Barbosa. I'm very pixelated, potentially, who knows? Video. I'm joined by a 4K Matthew Figueroa.
I'm crystal clear. I don't know what's going on your side.
I've got that filter on, on some games where they're like,
the
here's
retro
the retro filter.
Yes,
Yeah,
nice.
it's great. I love it in what game where it's really good? Ratchet and Clank, where it looks really cool, but you also get that gun called the Pixelator.
Oh, yes.
Where if you shoot an enemy, they turn pixelated version. They look like a Doom enemy. It's great.
It's a good idea.
More of that in games. Put that in Call of Duty.
Oh my gosh.
I want the Pixelator in Call of Duty.
Yeah, but for video viewers, apologies. It's literally nothing we can do about that.
I don't know what's going on. Like, I want to say it's my internet, but at the same time, like, just because the power's off doesn't mean my internet should be slow. My internet's still
it should work
hooked up.
fine.
So
I don't know.
Maybe we should have restarted the Discord call. Who knows?
I don't know.
Who knows? I'm also very low in my frame, and I don't think I can fix this now.
I mean, you could disconnect and reconnect. It's fine. We could make it work if you wanted to.
Okay. Can I? We'll
Do
see.
it.
I'm loading up the Logitech software now. I want to see if I can actually do anything with
adjust
it.
your picture. Nice.
Let's see.
Logitech's not going to fix your pixels though.
Nope. It's like your camera is being used by another application. You can
Yeah.
do fuck all now.
Mm.
But I can adjust the zoom. Look at that. Nope.
Oh my god.
Oh wow, yes. Big head mode now.
Nice.
Let's go.
Now it looks so little. Low.
I'm going to change it. Why does it let me do that, but not like
can't go
move
back.
around my camera?
That is
It's
amazing.
so silly. I can't change this
Perfect.
back. Okay, I'm
There you
back.
go.
I'm back.
Can you zoom out
I'm
more?
back.
Or is that
I mean,
it?
definitely. I can
Nice.
yes. Now I'm small.
Well, now we're on equal footing and we can see your cat's portraits in the background. Perfect. I think that's
I'm just
about
gonna
right.
put it-
Yeah.
Listen, I don't know. I think it's because I move my monitor a lot not a lot during the week, but like on Wednesdays when I work from home, because I normally have the monitor at a good ergonomic eye height. But then on
Yes.
Wednesdays, I work with my laptop in front of me, and that means it obscures most of the laptop, so I have to move the laptop. I mean the monitor.
The monitor, yeah.
And then things go haywire. So
No, your picture cleaned up a little bit. It's not
sure,
crisp,
I
but
don't know. I can never really tell from my end because I'm seeing a compressed image on my end anyway.
you're still
So-
very pixelated, but it's fine. It's all good. This is a podcast. If you're here for the video, just minimize.
You
just
done
for this
fucked
episode. Come
If
back
you're on
when
YouTube.
Come back when we show gameplay. Then we'll be teeny tiny heads. It won't matter what our faces.
Yeah,
look
exactly. Then I can be as pixelated. I could be a completely different person and it wouldn't matter.
Like.
So,
Nice.
yeah.
Some might argue that you pixelated because your CPU is not cool enough.
Yeah, I mean, to solve that problem, I would have to enter our own competition.
Nice. What a good
Nice
segue.
segue. Loved it. Oh, great. We are still running a competition with Gigabyte South Africa or Aorus South Africa. We're giving away one of their 240 millimeter liquid coolers, Aorus liquid coolers. It's a sick water cooler. Works on Intel and AMD, obviously. And, 240 mils, you're going to be cooling most CPUs
everything.
just fine. Especially now in the winter season, that liquid in those tubes is going to be chilly.
Yeah, ice
Gonna be
cold.
chilly.
Yeah.
Yeah, ice cold. Just don't drink it.
Yeah, links are all over socials.
In the description of this episode.
If you don't find it in the description, just go to any of our social channels. I've put it everywhere. You can't miss it.
Literally cannot miss
Literally.
it. And when you're listening to this, the competition is running for another week. Well, I'm assuming you're listening to this when the episode comes out. If you're listening to this in 2024, I'm very sorry to tell you, but you have missed it by a mile.
I know. Hate to see it.
So there is a week from when this episode posts left for you to enter. And after that, Gigabyte is going to select a winner from all the entrants, and you will get a nice shiny new AIO delivered to your doorstep,
Nice.
maybe with McDonald's.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That's not part of the package. I'm sorry. You're not going to get
Is
McDonald's.
that our contribution to the...
Definitely not.
My goodness. But yeah, be sure to enter.
Yeah,
bad
be sure to
competition.
enter.
Tell your family and friends, even if they don't care for
Yes,
water cooling.
yeah.
Just tell them. Hey.
Tell your grandmother. Be like, do you want a water cooler? Do you want a liquid cooler? And she'll be like,
wow.
yes. Yes.
I've waited 85 years for this question.
Wanted to pawn those noobs on Fortnite for decades.
My goodness, Grandma's been holding out.
No, she's been holding back. Could have had a CSGO career, but she didn't have an Aorus 240mm AIO.
Oh my goodness.
Couldn't keep the CPU temps in check. So, even CSGO was struggling.
Yeah.
You hate to see it.
Hate to
You
see
see it.
But yeah, don't forget to enter.
Yeah. We are just going to skedaddle over to games, I think, immediately because we are somewhat on a timer.
So thanks, ESCOM. Thanks for coming back
thanks,
to stage
ESCOM.
4. Love us.
I mean, to be honest, if I didn't have this inverter, we'd be fucked. Like game over because we don't have overlapping windows again. And so between 8 and 12, one of us would have been off, and that would have just been a nightmare. So
absolute worst.
Yeah. So now we have to keep going because at 10, potentially on the dot, Matthew will just go dark
off.
on me.
Yeah. And, I don't. The problem is that you're inverting on your PC, but you're just doing some nice little audio capture, a little Discord call.
Yeah. Nothing's
I'm
really
out
happening.
here
Yeah.
powering 2 screens. I'm producing.
Listen, no one asked you to live this life.
I don't
Except
know.
me.
I've thought about it. I'm like, how would I ever do this with one screen? It'd be so complicated.
No,
I'd have to pretend. I don't know. Although I do have the Elgato Stream Deck, which would make a big difference in like transitioning. Like on this screen, no one sees what's going on my desktop, so I can move stuff around. But when we're actually showing gameplay, it'd be like, okay. I can't really see what else I'm doing, but it's cool. Yeah. So one day.
Yeah.
One day.
One day.
Yeah. Cool.
One day, we both visited a village. Strike one chat, talked about video games.
Nice.
Resident Evil 4. Can I tell you my one big gripe with this game? When you hit start, it doesn't go Resident Evil. Missed opportunity. Absolute missed opportunity. It does it in 2 and 3 remake. I don't know why they omitted it here, but just going to say, Capcom losing their touch.
Yeah, they are.
But not when it comes to the actual game, because this game fucking rules. Oh my God.
I'm very excited to hear your thoughts, because I know when we touched on it in the past, you've said you've played Resident Evil 4, but you sort of just bounced off. I've only played it once myself, a lifetime ago on the Wii, and I've always loved it, but never...
On the Wii?
Yeah.
Apparently that's a very good version.
On the Wii as God intended, with the Wiimotes aiming.
With motion controls.
This game's very good. It's like, I think Capcom have hit their stride. They know what they're doing with their remakes, where it toes this fine line of it's the exact same game you know and love, but with some modern refinements and enhancements and some neat little surprises and twists. And man, Resident Evil 4 was good in 2005, I think, when it came out, and it's just as good in 2023.
Yep, I absolutely agree. I mean, like you said, I played the original briefly. I back in the day bought it on PC, never knowing that PC was very well known to be a truly legendary, horrible port.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I would argue that today the PC is one of the better places to play the original, because you get access to that pretty extensive HD mod, and it looks pretty fantastic. I just think going back to the OG one, the controls are still, even though at the time it was like this game revolutionized shooters because of the whole over-the-shoulder approach, and that, that's why Resident Evil 4 is so well regarded, is because it was a genre shifting thing, not just for Resident Evil, but for shooters, third-person shooters in general.
Yeah.
And I think if you go back to the original, you don't really see that anymore because shooters have progressed beyond that now.
Yeah.
But this remake kind of, I wouldn't say recaptures this, but it makes the original feel like the groundbreaking shooter it always was, just by making it feel super modern. I really, really like it. I don't have really any sort of idea what has been changed from a narrative and structure perspective, because I don't have that context. But in terms of the structure that is here, I think it's really, really good. I'm not a huge fan of the chapter approach because it feels like it breaks up the action. I mean, it's cool that you get to see it. Yeah, it is a very retro thing. It's like very, it's how the original was. Yeah. I guess I'm coming at it from a RE2 perspective where I really like the cohesive, no cuts sort of thing. But I don't think that actually works in the context of how Resident Evil 4 plays out. So, which is far more linear in a sense.
Yeah, but to your point, I mean, they could have dropped the loading screens between chapters and just had it as a linear thing, because ultimately you get to the end of a chapter, it's a cutscene, it says, hey, you finish a chapter, and then the next chapter just starts with a cutscene. I mean,
that's true.
They could have dropped it, but I don't know. I've quite enjoyed how it's broken up purely from my life point of view. Of every evening, I'm like, I can get a chapter or two in, and I never stop halfway through a chapter. I'm like, no, I'm going to finish a chapter, because they're about like an hour long. Let's say 45 minutes to just over an hour, depending on what's going on in the chapter, and they are this beautiful balance of, hey, it's RE4 signature action with stupid, ridiculous Resident Evil 4 puzzles, but they're super simplistic in this game, in the sense it's like literally, you need, I don't know, 3 medallions, go collect 3 medallions and come back and put them in. It's like very, very straightforward. And there are some light puzzles, but there shouldn't be anything that'll break your brain, unless you haven't come across this. There's one puzzle I know, it's a meme at this stage. It's like the 3 medallions where you either solve it in 2 turns or it's infinite. You can never solve it. You mess it up.
Oh. Is it one of those like where you're spinning dials?
Yeah, it's a completely optional treasure one, but it's hilarious how it's become a meme. I don't know if that's from the original, if it's new to the remake, but people going like, I spent hours on this thing, I couldn't solve it. And then people like me, like, I turned 3 things and it just worked. I was lucky. Yeah. No, go for it.
What are pieces of this that you? I mean, I know for a fact things like the knife. That's completely new in this game. So, I mean, I know from the original you often had to ready your knife and swipe at a box to break the box. I'm very glad that that's been changed to a button propped. Geez, that is so much nicer. But the knife is still there. The knife is still pretty important. Like, you can use it in combat. But I think now what I really like is they've given you the ability to use your knife to parry attacks. To the point where you can parry a chainsaw with your knife, which is,
of course, Leon's very
incredible.
Well trained. I don't know which training course he did that taught him that skill, but man, he's Archer.
Sure. He's out there at boot camp, and they're like, maybe one day you will encounter an enemy with a chainsaw. Here is how to get past
with a knife. Yeah,
it's great. I like the durability system on the knife, so you can't, it is a thing which makes you feel powerful if used correctly. Like, parrying is still a very active thing. You have to be like careful with timing and whatever. But also you've got to be mindful of like, hey, if I get grabbed and I stab someone, that costs durability. Or if I stab someone on the floor so they don't turn into one of those creatures with the tentacles, that takes durability as well. Parrying takes durability. So I do like the push and pull of like having to constantly repair my combat knife or keep spare knives around. And I never feel like I can just parry everything in sight, because there's just... Parrying is almost like a last resort type of thing, where it's like, I don't want to take damage. I will take damage here if I don't parry.
Yeah.
So you're not going out there like a Sekiro waiting for people to attack so you can parry them. That's super not the idea here.
Although I do think the parry window is like very generous in this game.
Extremely. Like,
yeah. Even in the tutorial, it's like there will be a prompt in the bottom right that shows you, when the window is to parry. But even if you push the parry a bit early, like, it'll still sometimes trigger. I'm like, wow, okay. Yeah. That's very generous of you.
And with bosses, it's obscenely generous. Like, it's like it warns you. It puts the prompt up on the screen to be like almost like a QTE. You know what I mean?
I think that's not parrying specifically, but I think that's something straight from the original as well, where Leon is this acrobatic dude who every now and then you'll get a prompt to do something. You're like, oh, okay.
Like a dodge or
I think specifically in boss fights, there are moments, if I recall, that he can dodge or duck or whatever. But yeah, they've definitely given him more movement in this game. Like even subtle things that you might not realize, like the fact that you can aim and shoot, you can move while you aim is one of those age-old Resident Evil things where fans are like, why can't I do this? Why would you stand still, not move?
Yeah.
And now they've put it in, and some fans are like, it's a bit weird that you can move and aim. Like, what do you guys want? Like, come on. But yeah, there are modern touches like that. And I mean, if you're watching the footage now, like you just saw Leon can crouch, which is like,
yes, yeah.
Why has this never been a thing in any Resident Evil game?
There's like actual stealth elements now. You can crouch and do stealth kills on enemies, which is really cool. Again, durability, so can't do that. You kind of can't do that forever anyway. It's not really designed for you to do it forever. Are you seriously going to shoot this guy instead of crouch? Okay.
No, but you know what gun I'm using? I'm using the
bolt gun. Yeah,
the bolt gun.
So you can reclaim
you can just reclaim those bolts. I'm busy testing it out here. Look at this dude doesn't know what's going on.
I literally use the bolt gun just with the mines on bosses. I just shove mines really into bosses. It's great.
I'll definitely replay this game and try this weapon, like from scratch. Because I kind of used it as like, that's cool, and then move back to all my other stuff. But anyway.
I do like that it is designed in a way that allows you to do that, where like if you buy a weapon and pummel like a bunch of money into upgrading it, and then you realize like, kind of want to try something else, like when you sell it back, you're pretty much getting almost everything back that you spent on it. So it's nice that it lets you experiment in that way.
Definitely.
It's just a good game. I think, they give Leon all these movement abilities, but he still feels kind of odd to move around in an apt way, because you don't want Leon to be like feeling like he can get out of any situation. You want some weight to him still. Yeah. That still makes him feel very vulnerable. It reminds me a lot of like, Dead Space is directly influenced by RE4, but it feels the same. You feel heavy and lumbering. So I don't think they've shifted the balance of power where Leon feels like an action hero and he's killing everything. Like that was there in the original. It is much more of an action game, but you're still under threat. This isn't an easy game.
Yeah,
by any stretch.
I was gonna say if you have no like affinity, oh my god, what a parry! Another good
incredible
parry.
Second
three
one.
in a row.
Third one.
If
Leon's just like, let me get my crossbow out. God damn it!
If you're coming in from like you quote unquote new to Resident Evil, the franchise, you've played Remake 2, Remake 3, you've played 7 and 8, you go, oh my god, like I need more of this. I'm gonna jump to 4, and you go, you realize 4 is actually, if you've played Village and 4 are very similar. Like Village is definitely a spiritual successor to 4. It's definitely more action heavy, but the horror comes in the form of you have to figure out how to survive like what seem like overwhelming odds. You walk into a room and then there's not like one zombie or two zombies walking at you. It's like 8 angry villagers holding pitchforks, and you go, oh my god, like how am I going to get out of this? So yeah, definitely more of an action focus, but I love it. I think it's such a cool blend of, like you said, it innovated back in 2005 with the over-the-shoulder perspective. But that thing of almost going, oh my God, like there's an enemy with a tentacle coming out of his head and there's a normal enemy, and let me switch to my pistol, and then, okay, do a shot here, switch to my shotgun because there's now 4 of them on top of me, switch to a grenade. Yeah. Like that quick thinking balancing act is like why this game is so satisfying. And also add to the fact that, if I recall, this is the first game that added the ability to, like, shoot an enemy in the head, then walk up and roundhouse kick them, which seems it seems so out of place in what was a survival horror franchise.
Or go behind them and suplex them.
Yeah, or suplex them. But now it's such a normal feature. Well, it was a normal feature from, those games forward, and use it to your advantage of, okay, there's a crowd around me. If I shoot an enemy in the leg, they'll fall, and then I can make some space by going up to them and hitting them. It'll sweep the other enemies away.
Exactly. Yeah, you almost use your melee as like a crowd control mechanic. It's really clever. Yeah, I fully agree with you. It's the like symphony of changing your weapons and overcoming these overwhelming odds that are thrown at you very, very consistently.
Yeah.
Whereas, if you've just played something like RE Remake 2, the tension there comes from you can die very quickly. Everyone can kill you, and enemies can come back to life at any point. And you're walking through this like maze-like structure with this like invincible thing hunting you as well.
Yeah.
So there's far more terror in that as opposed to like you are fighting multiple enemies at once. So they're different games in that sense.
Yeah.
And I love RE2 a lot for many reasons. I think exploring that space and that constant tension because of Mr. X is like phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I love this too for an entirely different reason. It's not scary. I don't find RE4 scary at all.
It's more
but
just
it's
tense.
tense.
Yeah.
It's very tense. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even
and I like it a lot.
Yeah. Even like I suppose we could touch on the visuals, like the game, like a beautiful.
Oh yeah, stunning.
Like I'm actually, I definitely want to revisit the original at some stage, but I'm like, oh man, after playing this and how it looks, they've definitely.
The original's gonna look so weird.
Oh no, it's gonna look almost bland in comparison. Well, it definitely will. But just how they've tried to set the tone. Like if you're watching the footage now, I'm playing. It's obviously shifted to nighttime. There are a lot of dark areas where Leon has to pull out his flashlight, and that to me is like, oh, it feels like classic Resident Evil. It's very cool. I mean,
and it's done very well. The dark areas are dark.
Yeah,
so
and it feels like I'm Leon from Resident Evil 2 walking through that police station with my flashlight going like, what the hell is around the corner?
Boy, let me tell you, Leon from a character perspective has changed since RE2. RE2, he's like very straight shooting. He's very like, what is going on? I've just arrived at this police station. Shit's gone wild. RE4, man, this guy's just quipping left, right, and center like it's nothing.
He's Mr. Cool in this game.
Like, what the fuck is he talking about? Like I think you shared that tweet where you fight those two ladies with the chainsaws. And his bloody quip, I played it yesterday, last evening, and his quip at the end when they arrive in the room, I was just like,
yeah,
what?
I mean,
why would you say that in this situation?
You're forgetting the part where, so for those of you who have no idea what we're talking about, you get to, I suppose, like a mini boss fight. You have pick up a key item off a shelf, and then two chainsaws bust through the wall. And instead of just simply stepping back, Leon's like, puts his foot on the wall and does like a backflip away. I'm like, you didn't need to do that, Leon. Like, come on. Like, but this is why I think I have such a fondness for this franchise, because it does straddle this line of, it's a super serious, oh no, like all the games, oh no, there's a virus, it's going to wipe out the city, or oh no, these people have the president's daughter, you're going to go save her. And then 3 seconds later, it's like, backflip, cheesy one-liner.
Yeah,
and like I really appreciate that they've embraced that. I think in all these remakes,
I do as well.
That at no point, I mean, at no point I feel did they go like, oh no, like we've got to pull back the cheesiness. Like they definitely pull it in, but it's still got that B grade, like roll your eyes yet you still smile horror aspects to it, which I really, really appreciate. So
I knew that they were going to lean into it super hard with this remake when the literal title sequence comes right after his classic bingo line, and it's delivered with the most deadpan seriousness ever. He's just like, where's everyone going? Bingo? And it's like title screen, and you're like, what is this game?
It's so good. Yeah, and look, if you have no affinity for Resident Evil as a franchise, I mean, I still think you could come in, play this game, and you'll be very satisfied with the action loop it gives you.
Absolutely.
It's just such a well-rounded game on all fronts, and I think there are changes to the remake which might upset purists, but I'm here for it. I think they've done such a good job. I mean, we're not done. Like we still. I'm on chapter 11.
You're nearly done.
I think there's 16 chapters. I'm kind of on that that home stretch.
I think there's 12.
No, it's more than 12. I'm sure.
Are you sure? Okay.
I could be wrong because there's no ways I'm right at the end.
Who knows? Maybe that 12th chapter is just like one chapter that's a third of the game.
That original as well was like, hey, you think you're nearly done? Don't worry, we've got more for you, and it just keeps going.
It is a much longer game than the others, than RE2 and RE3.
I've played, like, if it's an hour a chapter, I've played 10, 11 hours. I'm not done. Even that itself is longer than RE2 and RE3.
I think I'm on chapter...
I think you said 5 or 6.
6 or 7, because I'm at the castle now. I just started. I beat Mendez.
Nice.
And my clock is sitting at 5 hours.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Seems
but there's lots of side stuff to do in this game as well, and I'm enjoying picking apart things. Like I've gone around, like I see you in the footage now. Even though you're meant to be making a very hasty exfiltration from the village, you're like,
no, I'm
going to go back to the village chief house and look for the dog.
Where that treasure is. Oh, yeah, like that was a very cool. So have you fought that dog?
Yep. That dog killed me numerous times.
It's like a completely optional, hey, there's a dog, you can go kill it, or you don't have to.
I did the same as you, though, here, where I was running around looking for this thing and being like, I don't understand what's happening. And then eventually... Also, did you go upstairs back into the loft now that you have Ashley?
I did,
because there's a treasure there. Yeah.
But I mean, I think it was done intentionally. You hear the dog, and then they're like, "Oh, where's the dog?"
I only came back out, and he was at the gate, and then I had to run back to the village to fight him.
That's done intentionally. Then
the thing that you did that I didn't was clear out the village. I did not do that.
So you fought the dog with all the people there? Oh no!
Yep.
No wonder you died.
Painful, very painful, because that dog moves around real fast.
I had the dog just to myself, and it was not that complicated.
He takes quite a beating. I won't lie.
He does. Yeah. No, but I mean,
you get a decent reward for it. So.
I didn't have to contest with other villagers. It was just me and the doggo. So, yeah.
I'm definitely going to be replaying this game because I've already missed some puzzles. Like, there were those hexagonal pieces that you pick up in the village. I picked up 3, and then all of a sudden I saw them appear in the sell tab in the store.
That's the puzzle I'm talking about.
I'd missed the puzzle.
That's
is that the one
you put them into like a bigger puzzle and you twist them around.
So I had all 3 pieces. I just missed where to put them in.
Yeah, you know where it was. I actually know when you climb into the boat, it's like one of those offshoot areas.
Like one of those little islands.
But like the main island. But it's fine.
Bummer. Oh well, I sold them. Got some money.
Made some mola. Yeah, game's good. I'd highly recommend it to everyone. Like, I don't think...
Oh, hold up. You just did something in your inventory I've never seen before. You just moved a herb over another herb and they combined.
Oh, yeah. You can just slap them on it. You don't have to open up the combine menu. Amazing.
That would have saved time.
Life-changing advice right here. But yeah, again... You don't have to be a survival horror fan or a Resident Evil fan, or you don't have, even if you like, I don't like horror games that's got, this game's tense, like, but it's not, nothing's going to jump out at, well, I say that, there are some things that jump out at you, but it's not a traditional horror experience. Man, it's so good. I love it. And I'll be back next week. Maybe you will too. We'll say we finished it and we haven't changed our minds, or it's the worst game ever. Like, I don't know. I don't see that happening.
It's a great time. Like I think for some bizarre reason it took me a while to like get into it. Maybe because I'd played the opening of RE4 so many times that I'm like, okay, this is super familiar. Like but like pretty much after the opening encounter in the classic opening where you're surviving in the village until the bell rings, like straight after that the game just does its own thing, and it's like not what you remember. I think
also, last thing I'll say is it's got another reason why I feel it's still like one of the best games, is that it's very good at just upping the difficulty, like very subtly. It's like, okay, you're used to fighting these normal villagers. Now we're going to have these monsters burst from their heads, which makes them harder to take down. And that every time you think like, oh, this game just can't get harder. I think it's peaked now. It always does, but you always have the right tools, to take whatever you're facing on. So
it also feels like it's got because the original has that whole like game director running in the background that subtly changes the difficulty based on things you have and how you're doing. I'm almost certain there's an evolved version of that going on in the background, because it feels like it's adjusting to me.
I think definitely from an ammo point of view, the game...
Yes.
Like, it still has this good balance of like you always have just enough ammo. Like to be fair, you're pretty much a walking army, but you always have enough ammo for each gun that you can, swap between them and fire away. And if you have too much, the game's like, I'm not going to give you more. And if you use a lot, the game's like, oh, here you go, like wink, wink. Here's. I mean, have you opened up chests? Have you hit barrels where it's like there's actual multiple things in there? It's like, oh.
Yeah. Especially when it comes to bosses. Like you break a barrel and it's like, here's 4 things that you need.
You're like, oh, okay. Like, thanks, game director.
No, it definitely is like, it's less survival horror than the others. I think very rarely going to be put in a position where you're like, I have no ammo at all. Or at least I have nothing offensive to use. And it sort of flies in the face of, I just finished Dead Space Remake, and that game does something similar where your crates will be obviously dynamic, depending on what you need at the time. I just think that the remake stuck too closely for Dead Space, stuck too closely to the original in that its game director would be skewed towards what's in your inventory, not currently what you're using. And I think that was done as a means to like, you should swap between weapons more often and not just use your plasma cutter. But at the same time, it's like, cool, I'm using my plasma cutter. I'm never getting ammo for it unless I run out, change weapons, use that for a bit. Then I start getting plasma cutter ammo again. Yeah. And it's like, I found that quite frustrating because I'm like, I've upgraded this fucking thing. I want to use this thing, Yeah. So yeah, from that perspective, I prefer RE4's approach to things. But Dead Space Remake is far more survival horror, so I get it from that perspective. But yeah, I never feel stressed with ammo. I mean, you have that fight in that house with Louise, and like if you start running out of ammo, he just throws ammo at you. He's like, "Here, take it." Nice. Yeah. So yeah,
that's a moment straight from the original. I love it.
Good. That dude's a fucking asshole. I hate that guy so much.
Yeah, Resident Evil 4 Remake. We haven't finished it, but yeah, can confirm it is an absolute banger of a game from what we have seen and played.
And I guess if this is coming late, it's because, well, we didn't get review copy. We just bought it at launch. So we're playing it with you.
We are playing.
We're out here playing. We both have it on PS5. I know there's some issues that Digital Foundry identified with PS5 with regards to like image clarity, which you can definitely see, but it still looks pretty fucking good. I'll say that much.
Yeah.
Especially if you've got a monitor that has VRR, thing is smooth as hell.
Nice. It's great. Chef's kiss. Archer chef's kissing all over.
I haven't played anything else. Have you? You have been playing something else.
I've been I'm not done with it either, but I have been playing Bayonetta Origins, Cereza, and The Lost Demon. So I touched on this.
I assume this is your like review though. Like you can.
I can give an idea. Yeah, I've put in about, I'd say like 6-7 hours. And
that's longer than I thought this game would be.
I've looked it up. This game's actually like 15 to 16 hours long. I was taken aback because when we played the demo, when I played the demo, I remember telling you like, oh yeah, your progress carries over to when the game finally launches. I've done the first chapter in a bit, and it's like you 10% through the game.
Wow!
And I was like, okay, like this took me an hour, so. The game, I'm going to just thumbsuck and assume it takes 10 hours. But apparently it's actually a lot longer. And I'm absolutely loving this game. Like it's taken me completely by surprise because I even remember telling you when they showed this game, I think it was one of the other Nintendo Directs, and I remember like sort of switching off playing.
It's the Game Awards actually.
Oh, was it the Game Awards?
Yeah.
I remember not rolling my eyes, but metaphorically going like, oh, like Bayonetta, but it's like an origin story, and it doesn't look anything like the Bayonetta we know, the character action-driven game with adults, Bayonetta doing her thing, kicking butts, flying a fighter jet by standing on it as only
killing
she
angels
would.
On a fighter jet.
Yeah, like it's not that. So I came into this game very hesitant, going like, I don't know what this is. But what I've since learned is that it is a very, very competent, more than competent like I suppose action adventure game with a good mix of, so there's combat, which I'll get to, but it's a good mix of combat, puzzle solving, and just exploration, and it's presented in this beautiful like storybook or slash fairy tale template of every now and then you get a cutscene and transitions, flips through pages, and this beautiful like watercolor art style splashes onto the screen, and then this
visually this looks incredible.
I take my hats off to this team where they just went all out to be different, to set themselves apart from the Bayonetta we know. And the game itself I think is fantastic. Like, it tells the story of Bayonetta as a teenager, or I don't know, she's like a very young girl / going on young teenager. And it still follows that beat of like her mom and dad. Her mom's a witch, her dad's a lumen sage, and she's trying to save her mom. And she's just trying to find her way in this world as a witch without parents. But she ends up selling. She doesn't sell. She summons a demon, and this demon takes the body of her stuffed toy. If you're watching the footage, that's what she's running around with, holding in her arms. And she calls the stuffed toy Cheshire, which you'll know is a wink, wink, nudge, nudge callback to what she calls old Luca. I think
the game,
in the whole franchise, but I don't know if it's all franchise.
And he really
the
hates
first
it.
Game. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the gameplay is broken up between you exploring, as you're seeing now. You can call out Cheshire to be the muscle in certain scenarios, like if you need to hit down a barrier or need to fight enemies. Otherwise, he's just this cute little stuffed toy that you run around with. So I had not concerns, but I know playing the demo, I said to you, I don't know, like I'm enjoying the demo. I don't know how they pad this out over a whole campaign. Like what does progression look like? And I've since learned that, okay, there are skill trees. So Cereza has her own skill tree, Cheshire gets his own skill tree. And what's quite cool is that as you progress through the game, Cheshire unlocks different elemental attacks and forms. So as an example, I've unlocked, I don't know if it's like meant to represent grass, but a green version of him, which gives him an ability to pull not only enemies, but also like obstacles out in the world for puzzle solving, which is pretty cool. Just last night, I unlocked another form where he can stomp, which you can use to, of course, hit enemies or break through, ground that's not sturdy. And the game is pretty much broken up between that. It's exploration and combat, but it's really good. Like, I can't.
And you aren't controlling Cheshire directly. You're pointing him in a direction.
I know. So I wanted to get back to that. So I know not everyone listened to our demo discussion, but you actually control Cereza with the left thumbstick and Cheshire with the right thumbstick.
Right.
So you're controlling them both simultaneously, and there are moments where you have to get your motor coordination in check, because I've had moments where I'm running off with Cheshire like off screen. I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, oh, because I'm focusing on Cereza. But yeah, it's feels a bit weird to get used to, but when you get it done, you get into this really satisfying swing of you use her with the left thumbstick and shoulder button to lock down enemies, and then you move Cheshire with the right thumbstick and you tap the right shoulder button for him to attack. And then as you progress through the story, you do unlock different things. Like I said, there's a skill tree, and as an example, you can lock down an enemy with Cereza, and if you time an attack straight after that, Cheshire does like a really powerful combo to enemies, like an AoE. It's great. It's like, I don't know what else, what other praises I can shower on this game other than it took me completely by surprise. Like, it's not the Bayonetta, it's not that character action game, but it's just so darn charming, if I could put it that way. In terms of presentation, even just the story itself, you have Cereza actually talking, but you have another, like an all-encompassing narrator who says, like, who's telling the story, like she's reading the story to you. And Cheshire doesn't have a voice. Cheshire's not like, hey, I'm Cheshire, the voice actor. It's this old lady who impersonates like this big grumbly demon, like, and then Cheshire said this, and it's very like
a story being told.
Yeah, it really
almost.
is like a story being told, and they lean into that, and I think it just works. It works so well with
cool.
this game. Yeah. I mean, if I know I'm diverting it, but if you're watching the footage now, there are these encounters. Well, so I suppose I didn't really touch on it, but the basic story is you, Cereza, end up in Avalon Forests, which is just a place filled with these little fairies, not as in fairies that you know and love like Tinkerbell, fairies as in Faeries, like those fairies.
Okay.
And you encounter them throughout your journey. Like you'll see, I'm actually just going to scrub through here. You get these little portals throughout the game, which you go into, and they'll either be like a puzzle room or just a combat encounter with them. And these are scattered throughout the world, and there are some main ones which you use to progress the story, but there are also completely optional ones which will give you, rewards in that you'll get a piece of a flower, which if you collect enough of them, you'll up your max health, for example, or your magic ability. Yeah. So I know I went all over this review, but there's a lot to say about this game.
It's cool though, because it's like I think from the outside, it's very easy to look at this and be like, oh, this is a very simplistic sort of take on Bayonetta in a whole new kind of genre. And to an extent, I think it is definitely a new genre of play for this franchise, but it doesn't seem like dumbed down at all. You know what I mean? It's got some really cool mechanics going for it.
Yeah, look, I think it's, I'm playing on normal difficulty, but I think it's pretty accessible. Like I would be more than happy to recommend this to like newcomers or even just young players. Like I can imagine kids playing this and absolutely loving the presentation. And Cheshire is this big bad demon, but he's presented as this cute lumbering stuffed toy.
He does look very cute, extremely cute, and the art style definitely helps with that.
And just
I like his little like flowing cape thing.
Yeah,
it just looks really cool.
It's like the one word I'll throw out that I've felt throughout my time with it is like and I'm sorry for whether this is a pun or not, but like it's enchanting. It's really just again, it just took me completely by surprise because I was expecting like it's like some silly Bayonetta mini side game, whatever it is, and I'm like, oh no, there's actually this team. I don't know which team worked on it specifically. Like I don't know if it's the Bayonetta A team or another team, or if it's even the same team to begin with, but they clearly put a lot of love and effort into this game. And it shows, like in terms of presentation and the sound design. Like when Cereza, like you saw earlier, I cast a spell to open the door. It just sounds so. It triggers this mini game where you need to like there's this spinning like line. You need to time presses with circular icons, as it goes. Just the sound of doing that, you do it very often. It is so satisfying, like visually and just the sound. I'm like, man, these people nailed it. It's really, really good.
Nah, that's cool. That's sick. I kind of, definitely do want to play this
add it
at
to
some
your wish
point.
list,
It looks
man.
really good, yeah.
It is a Switch exclusive.
Which means it will not ever go on sale.
I'm like,
just got to buy it.
I'm like, don't worry. Like Bayonetta 2 came to other platforms, and I'm like, no, wait, no, it didn't.
No, it didn't. No, Nintendo owns this franchise. Okay, nice. That looks really cool. I definitely want to play that quite soon because it looks like a fun time.
It's a good time. Bayonetta Origins, Cereza, and the Lost Demon.
Should we bounce over to game releases for this coming week? I think it will be difficult to top what's been happening the past couple of weeks, but we are looking from today, April 1st. Happy April Fool's Day.
Happy Fool's Day.
Up until April 7th. And it's not I can say too much happening this week.
We'll pull it up.
Meteor Maker coming to PC, PS4, Xbox Series. Road 96, Mile Zero. This is an expansion to that game I played. I think it was last year. It was like that narrative adventure where you're like a bunch of like hitchhiking teenagers running away from like a war-torn country.
Oh,
and it's like
got a sequel already.
No, it's like an expansion.
Okay.
So it's adding some new story elements and new characters and stuff like that. So yeah,
Nice.
that's out on basically all the platforms that it is currently out on. So pretty much everything. Okay, this is a name. Filthy Animals: Heist Simulator.
Love to see it.
Okay. It's coming out on April 4th. Movie House, the film studio tycoon, coming to PC April 5th. Curse of the Sea Rats.
Nice.
PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch, April 6th. Everspace 2, the official launch, PC, April 6th. Raven Swatch, like the watch brand.
Nice.
Steam Early Access, PC, April 6th. And then The Library of Babel, PC, April 6th. So yeah.
Cool. Very,
not tons.
Very quiet week.
I think you have to really wait until later this month for things to pop, like
Minecraft Legends and Dead Island 2.
Horizons DLC.
Oh yeah, where's that?
April 19th. Yeah. Advanced Wars 1 and 2 finally coming out.
Nice.
Star Wars Jedi Survivor on April 28th.
Just a small game, nothing big.
So excited for that. Also quite excited for Tron Identity. It's the Tron narrative game from Mike Bithell and Co. Yeah, so that should be good. I liked that studio's narrative stuff with like Subsurface Circular and stuff like that. So yeah, pretty stoked.
Nice.
God, May is just like first 2 weeks of May are nuts. Redfall and Zelda,
Zelda, Suicide.
Lego 2K Drive.
This is wrong. This has been delayed.
What is that? Suicide Squad. Well, no, it hasn't. Not officially. It was reported, but it hasn't been officially announced. Okay. Yeah.
Well, let's see.
Here's the game I want to play. Do Not Feed the Monkeys 2099.
Where's
now
that?
That's just above Lord of the Rings Gollum. That is a game I want to fucking play. That sounds great.
Add it to wish list.
Yeah. Sounds so good.
Nice.
Cool. Should we move on to gaming news? There's little bits of big news, I would say.
No Blizzard Activision updates this week.
Not this week.
Unfortunately. Come back next week.
Very sorry to tell you.
But what are we starting with? The big one.
I want to start with Zelda, but I don't think that's the right thing to start with because it'll be a week old by this point.
I mean,
E3. It has to be. E3's kind of done. Like, I think this is just it now.
I do not see it coming back.
There was nothing. There was no COVID issues. There was no, will they, won't they COVID issues. But yeah, E3 is done for 2023. It's just not happening.
Yeah, and I think it started earlier this week where Ubisoft formally announced like, oh, we're not gonna be at E3 this year.
That was the big flare in the sky of like, this thing is in trouble. Like, because like even before that, I mean, Microsoft said they weren't attending. Sony hasn't attended an E3 even when it was happening. Like I think 2019 they didn't attend it. Activision hasn't attended it for ages. Nintendo was a big one. When Nintendo this year said they are not doing it, I was like, oh, okay,
yeah,
something's wrong.
Then you wonder, like, well, what is E3? Like, no offense to smaller indie devs, but like there were none of the the big six, whatever you want to call the Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, Ubisoft, EA, all those people, like they weren't present. So it's like, well, then what does E3 look like? I don't know. The Ubisoft were like, we out fam, and then other people followed in the coming days. Like, I know Devolver Digital were like, yeah, us too. And then E3 has been formally announced as not happening, which makes me wonder. I mean, me and I suppose literally everyone else on the planet, will it ever come back? I mean, maybe one day is like a wink wink, here's a nostalgia vibe. Hey, we're getting together. We managed to get E3 together, but I don't see that happening for a long time, if ever.
I still think there's so much value in a conference like E3 for a certain type of person. Like, I think it's important to get the industry all in one place for 1 week to show off games, for journalists to all congregate in one place and be able to be given the access to interview and try things, for the public even to get a sense of like what is happening over the next 6 months. But from a publisher perspective, I can see why that is super not what they want anymore. Like back in the day, maybe sure, but the industry's grown and grown and grown. And now like this idea of having to put yourself out there in a conference that is being seen by millions and then almost immediately being compared to a conference that happened an hour before. Yeah. You know, do you want to put yourself in that position?
And you're paying money to be there.
And you're paying money to be there. So whereas you could host your own event, which is nowhere near any other events, and you can just be like, this is our event. And if people don't like it, like they, you know, often don't, like you get a PlayStation showcase or a Nintendo Direct and people are like, that sucked. But at least it's not their E3 conference sucked, you know, because that's a big thing.
Yeah. But so even that, I feel like I've beaten this drum a million times over the last few years now of, you know, with E3, if you're a Sony or Microsoft, you've got the money, right? But why would you pay to be part of E3 only to, like you said, be compared to another conference or to drown with all the other games being announced? Like Sony go like, here's Last of Us Part 3, which would be pretty big. But, you know, it's like, here's a Last of Us Part 3. Then an hour later, it's like, oh my God, Gears of War 6. I get it. This is a bad comparison, but bear with me. When you could literally have a YouTube stream, which doesn't cost you nothing, but it costs you significantly less, you know, to put together a really nice highlight reel or video saying like, here's what's coming out in the next 6 months. You drop that on a week when nothing else big is happening, and you get all the news to yourself, all the attention on PlayStation, whether it's good or bad, like you're getting the PR, like it makes sense. I think like E3, thinking about it, like even pre-COVID, it's amazing how E3 still survived. It took COVID for people to realize like, hang on. We don't actually have to be there. Like we can do our own thing.
Because the publishers still had to get that news out there. Like that the industry didn't stop for them. So it's like, okay, well, we have to make a plan. And then when they made the plan, they're like, wait a minute, we can just keep doing this. Like, why did we ever think we couldn't do this? And you've got people like Activision and Sony going like, yep, we told you, 2019, like you don't need them. You don't need to be fighting everyone else for attention on the same day when you can just do your own thing. And that kind of sucks because it's super nice to have the gauntlet of press conferences was always super special.
As a gamer, super it cool to see not having E3.
Exactly. Yeah. So for publishers, super makes sense. For people like us who consume games, who cover games, it's crap. It was always really fun, and I have so many fond memories of like watching E3 conferences, and then being able to attend them. You know, attending like 5 E3s. I never thought it would be possible. So it's cool. It sucks that it's gone. I do think that, you know, you've got things like Summer Game Fest, which aren't really a conference. They're just like a banner for things that are happening during June.
I was going to say, we've got our boy Jeff Keighley coming out being like, don't worry.
Man, that man has no chill when it comes to this shit. He is on the pulse of like, I'm going to make sure everyone knows.
That's so funny.
I fucking told you so with E3, you know, back in the day when he decided to walk away from it. So, you know, this has been a long time coming. E3 has kind of like lost its luster for a long time. Most would say that in the years like the 2018, the 2019s, it didn't even really feel like the E3 of old. Some would say it hasn't felt like E3 since like 2010. So I don't know. It's a bummer. I think something will replace it. We'll still get conferences in June. Microsoft is holding a showcase in June. It's not announced, but Sony is seemingly going to do the same. EA is definitely going to. Ubisoft announced the Ubisoft. So there's shit happening in June. Like we're gonna know what's happening for the rest of the year come June. So it's just that there won't be here's a hands-on view or here's gameplay, or not everyone is flying all the way to LA to do it. So Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, RIP E3, will it come back? Maybe one day, but I don't know. It's like
I think this is kind of a nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
You know, everyone said that about COVID, but then the ESA did the surprising thing and actually went to ReadPop, an actual conferences company, and said, okay, we're going to let them deal with it. And that was like, oh, maybe this will come back. You know, like ReadPop has done, they do EGX, they do a bunch of things like, and it seems from reports that ReadPop just started planning this thing too late. By the time it started contacting people to be like, do you want to be part of this? They're like, we needed to have confirmed what was happening, like already, like done.
Yeah.
So they just fucking dropped the ball on this thing. So whether or not they get the chance to try again next year, or whether or not publishers will trust them to get it done next year, I don't know. I personally don't think so. I think this is done. I never see this show coming back.
No, don't say it.
Bummer.
Real bummer. It's a bummer. But you know, it's not a bummer. The Legend of Zelda. Tears of the Kingdom.
If there was one thing to pick up the mood this week,
oh my god.
This gameplay looks fucking so good.
Where did your camera go? Hang on.
Oh, well, listen, you know, I can only be
the
face of the show, not the producer of the show.
Yeah, so we've been waiting a real long time for actual gameplay of Tears of the Kingdom, and here we are. We got a good 10-minute look, like 10 to 11 minutes or so. And
I feel like it wasn't even all-encompassing. No. It was just like, here's 4 new abilities. Okay, bye. Like,
yeah, but
like,
also
what?
It's like, I was expecting like, just here's what the game looks like. Oh, like Link can still glide and you can still climb mountains and like here's a bokoblin, blah, blah, blah. I didn't expect him to like, oh, hey, remember those like 5 cool abilities you had in the base game? Yeah, we've got like 4 new ones of that. And look at what they can do.
Forget that shit. Those things were boring.
Yeah, it's like
check
cool.
this shit out.
There's like 4 I think it's 4 brand new things. Peace out, bye. I'm like, whoa. Like,
it's also like, you didn't like durability in the first game? Okay, well, we didn't remove it, but we actually just changed combat entirely and how it works. And also, you can just combine anything. And
yeah. So we'll touch on them all, but I laughed. So I suppose let's start there. What's that ability called? I can't remember what the actual...
Fuse?
I think it's fuse. So
yeah.
So think about the last game. You had like your little bombs, your stasis, things like that. You could move objects. We've got new abilities in that line, and one of them is a thing called fuse, which lets you combine items into new weapons. And I imagine there will be other things that we don't know, obviously. But like...
Yes.
part of the gameplay, he picks up the stick. He's like, "Oh, that'll be important later." I'm like, "Fam, did you play Breath of the Wild? That stick is useless."
And then he's like, "Check this shit out."
Until like 30 seconds, and it's like, "Oh, we can combine the stick with this boulder, and we have a new weapon." And
now we have a hammer.
That
has better durability, does more damage, and it's like.
I was like, oh, hang on. Okay, I suppose let's just cut back quickly. So that if you're watching the video feed, they're showing another one called Rewind.
Recall.
Recall, sorry. It's basically Rewind, though, in my defense.
It's like, did you ever play Blinks the Time Sweeper? Well, it's that. No, I'm joking. It's basically just like a rewind feature where you can go to... You see, again, I don't know if it's certain objects in the world or just everything. The world, the world en masse will react to this thing, because I think that's what's super interesting about all these abilities is not the fact of like, I understand the core conceit of how they all work. I'm now more interested because they made me think about how they're going to work within the world, like the wider world. So recall, sorry, I got sidetracked. You rewind time, so objects move backwards in time. So in the demo, Eiji Onuma basically showed it as like getting on a boulder that had fallen from one of these new sky islands that you can go to, pressing rewind, and then the boulder goes back up, and that's like a quick way to get there. Yeah. I almost certainly bet you can use it in things like combat and dungeons.
You rewind enemies away, for example.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So then fuse, like you said, you can fuse objects together. What's the ceiling on that? I don't know, because he kept it fairly basic. He was like, here's a stick and a rock. Also, if you kill one of those bats and they drop those eyes that you usually just did nothing with in the first game, you can attach that to arrows. And now when you shoot an arrow, they will seek enemies. And it's like, Oh, okay.
Yeah, that
So like, what if I combine an eye with like he later on he makes like a really big pitchfork. So
Yeah.
he uses like a pitchfork and a longer stick, and now he's got this like long ass lance pitchfork. Like, what if I put an eye on that and then throw it? Would that seek
that
enemies? Like,
I think, look, you'd have a much better understanding of like the back end side of this, but I imagine it would be like,
dude, this is a fucking nightmare.
No,
I
but
can't imagine how they've done this.
But on that, I'm thinking like, it's a thing of, okay, like if Bat's eye combined,
definitely from that perspective,
homing
yes.
in equals 1, and it is like, your pitchfork's got the homing attribute. Like if you throw it, it's gonna find an enemy. You know,
like everyone's like, why did this game take so long to make when it's just the same world? Are you seeing what they're doing mechanically? This is insane. The amount of testing and the amount of like even just the ideas they had to come up with, like, what do all of these things do when combined? What if I combine this and this? If I combine this and that, then what does that do, you know? And how are all these things interesting? Like, this is insane. The ambition on, like, mechanics like these, incredible. I'm so excited.
I'm excited
What were the other ones? There was the arm thing where you can combine... So it's like fuses specifically for weapons. Yeah. Then you've got the other thing where you can take like big logs from trees you've chopped down and like combine them into like a raft. They like stick together and you can like dismantle them at will. You can also reposition them. The system seems really like easy. So it's not like finicky to combine things. But then it's like, oh, then I can attach fans to the end of this raft and now I've got like a fucking jet boat. I don't know. If I put an eye on it, will it seek enemies? Who knows? You know, can I throw a boat at an enemy?
Yeah, well, I think Breath of the Wild itself was so iconic on that front alone, where it's like right from the get go they give you everything. So here's the tools. You can go do whatever the hell you want. And like one of my favorite examples is there's one of the shrines where you basically had to finish a circuit and get 2 conductors connected. And the puzzle itself's like, there's a huge metal block over there that you can just carry over. But I'll never forget, it was either on YouTube or somewhere where somebody took all their swords and just chained them together and it worked.
It was in a dungeon, actually. It was one of the divine beasts.
Oh, it was one of the divine, and it's like...
He just like created a circuit with all his swords and basically bypassed the whole dungeon.
And I'm like, I don't know.
Cool.
I don't know if that's what they intended, but the game is designed in a way that it's open-ended enough that if you can think it and put it to the test, like it should work. So yeah, and
I think that's what they're leaning into here, is like giving you the tools to do more of that stuff.
Exactly,
this isn't like a framework to be like, okay, no, we are actually reining things in and we are trying to super define the sorts of interactions you can make with the world. It's like, no, we're giving you more tools to fuck this world up. Like we want, they watch speedrunners and they were like that looks sick. Let's give them more things to try out. You know, like
speedrunners are going to have a field.
Speedrunners are going to tear this game apart, and I cannot wait to see what they do with this shit. Like, if they can combine anything in the world, think about how they're going to propel themselves across the world, because they were able to throw themselves across the map just using stasis and a rock. Yeah, like this shit is going to be wild. It's I'm so excited. You see, so it's like they showed off 4 mechanics, and immediately it's just imagination is all over the place as to what this game can do, you know?
Yeah.
I do not... I really don't understand the criticism of like, oh, I'm disappointed that it's the same world. This is so drastically different.
Did we watch the same?
I'm just like, did you watch the same thing? Like, yes, it's a very similar map. It's also very different. Like, you can tell the geography is different. There are islands in the skies, and there's completely new ways to interact with the world. Like they've taken out, I think, very smartly, some of the tedium with the climbing, because I think that is a very Breath of the Wild thing, where that was very novel. Like, oh, I have to climb this mountain, I have to manage my stamina. I think doing that all again doesn't become as novel. So they're like, okay, cool. What about if we let you find a cave and you can just yeet yourself through the cave rock and then you're at the top of the mountain? It's like, Yeah, cool. That sounds fun.
That ability did make me laugh though, because it's like that was the only really specific one.
Yes, it's like you need a ceiling always.
It's like you can combine things. You can do this. Also, here's an ability. Yeah, you can only go through ceilings, but it's here.
Yeah. But again, ceilings is vague. Like, what if I create my own ceiling?
Oh yeah, like maybe you can go through it.
Yeah, like say there's a cliff, and I'm like, don't really feel like climbing. I'm just going to put like this fucking piece of wood above my head, stasis it, ascend, boom. Now I've got a platform that I can jump off of.
So yeah, we never know. We'll see.
Link can make a flying machine. What if he dive bombs off of it and then ascends through the base of it again, and then it like momentum propels them off to fucking Ganon's castle? Who knows?
Oh, you're a speedrunner. I can't believe this.
And they didn't touch on the story, the structure of the game. Like, are there going to be dungeons? That's one thing I do hope. Like, I like the Divine Beasts because they were different, but they were very small dungeons compared to the sort of big, nice dungeons that you got in the shrines. Definitely made up for that, and because they were like 100, it like didn't feel like it. But I would like maybe a few. Traditional dungeons.
I think that this game's where they lean into more traditional dungeons because they've given you, like you said earlier, the rewind. It's going to be used to solve puzzles in a dungeon.
Yeah,
absolutely. Or 3 or 4, like
absolutely.
100%.
I've seen a lot of people being like, "Oh, there's the Sky Islands," but I think the big reveal that they're not talking about is there's a whole city underneath.
Oh, they're going to Elden Ring this?
Yes. I mean, think about the very first trailer. They were underground.
Yeah. Nice. I'm ready. How big is this game?
There's also a really interesting theory that this is like a... So there's the Zelda timeline, right?
It's wild.
And this is sort of the idea that Breath of the Wild is kind of like at the end of that timeline, and Skyward Sword is at the top.
Yeah.
There is a theory that the Zelda timeline en masse is trapped in a curse, and that Tears of the Kingdom is how we link back to Skyward Sword, and the timeline repeats. And this is like a curse that like maybe you'll break, and the whole like logo being an Ouroboros, like kind of like it's an interesting theory. I quite like it. Yeah. I don't think Nintendo gives a shit. Like, they do not care.
Yeah, game is looking really good. I cannot wait. It's out in May. We're in April now. That's
and
next
it's
month.
early May. I thought it was the end of May. It's like 12th of May. We're like 5 weeks out from a fucking new Zelda. Should I buy an OLED Switch?
That OLED Switch is real nice. I'll tell you that.
It's aggressive. It's so aggressively priced locally. It's sad. And it doesn't even come with the game.
Yeah, that blows my mind. Here's a special edition, no game. Like what?
Because it's like the OLED Switch locally is like 8.5. I've seen listings for the Zelda one 9.5. That is that's a grand off of Xbox Series X. I don't know if I can. That seems crazy to me. But anyway, moving on.
Let's fly through the other little pieces of news.
Final Fantasy.
Oh,
look at that! You even knew it was busy loading, and you knew.
Wow! This is the world's shortest article. I'll read it to you.
It's gold. That's it.
Final Fantasy 16 has gone gold. Square Enix announced that means that the game has finished development and is ready for mass production. Final Fantasy 16 is due out for PlayStation 5 on June 22. If you missed it, watch the latest trailing gameplay footage here. That's the whole article.
Great article.
It's gone to the point. Gold. Nice. Man.
Small rant. Going gold does not mean what it used to. Because of the nature of games today, like what is printed on a disc can be completely overwritten by a patch on day one, and we've seen it happen. So I guess it's a nice signifier that, hey, this game is probably not going to be delayed, but games have gone gold and then been delayed, which is super strange. So it happens. But I think Square Enix is super confident that this is going to hit its June date. I mean, going gold 2 months before its date is crazy. Yeah. I'm so excited for this game.
This year
really
it's
cannot
firing
wait.
on all cylinders.
Yeah, this year already is just a fucking great gaming year, and it doesn't seem to be letting up.
what blows my mind is that like the latter half of the year, we don't actually know what's coming out.
We have very little. I mean, the only thing we really know of is Starfield and the assumption that Spider-Man 2 will make.
But
this
even
year,
those two, I'm like, cool. If it's just those two, like we've 2023
bangers,
great year.
bangers.
Yeah,
Forza Motorsport for me, but
so Socks on coming out this year. Hopefully.
Listen. We are fast approaching the 12-month window on that. Because I know it didn't work for Starfield and it didn't work for Forza, but Silksong was said within the next 12 months.
Yeah.
June is approaching.
We're watching you.
If that thing just fucking drops in May, I might lose my mind.
I'll die. Like, it's going to launch
Zelda and Silksong in the same month.
Same day as Tears of the Kingdom. They're that brave.
Jesus. Bold of Team Cherry. Those Australians don't fuck around.
The last few pieces of news. PlayStation VR 2 is apparently selling really badly.
Check out this reporter, Darren Bonethighs.
Bonethighs Archer. He writes, Sony is expected to sell around 270,000 units by the end of March. Bam. That's real low. I mean,
quite low. Yeah, it's quite
pretty low. I mean, it's still in the 100,000s, but it's not in the hundreds of thousands. I suppose it's Sony expected.
I guess if I'm going to try and make a case for them, there's fewer PS5s out at this point than when comparable to the first PSVR. But at the same time, I just think this thing, market-wise, is not placed in the same bracket. Like, it's too expensive.
Yeah.
And I get that the hardware is awesome. The hardware is awesome. It's fucking great. It seems to be one of the best VR headsets out on the market today. Yeah. It's just way too expensive. And the software is not there. Like, it's just not. I'm sorry. Like, if you are a brand new VR player, cool. You are playing your Beat Sabers for the first time, your pistol whips for the first time. But beyond that, if you owned the first PSVR, you have fuck all reason to get this thing.
Yeah.
Like, there's zero.
This video playing, is this Timur?
Yeah, that's Tam's.
His shirt
review.
is Chef's Kiss. Have you seen it?
What shirt is it? No, I haven't seen.
It says Midgar on it. Hang on. No. Sorry, video view, audio listeners are getting the worst experience. I'm not going to find it. Look at that.
Oh, there. He is a very big Final Fantasy VII fan. Gave it 10 out of 10 on GameSpot.
Love to see it. PSVR 2. I still want to dabble with one day, but Monet.
Will Sony price cut it? I think they will.
You think they will? Speaking of keeping in Sony news, The Last of Us Part 1's PC port isn't in great shape.
Yeah, so I've touched this I didn't speak about it because like I just haven't played enough of it, but I've been playing this on PC, been dabbling with it on Steam Deck.
Oh, yeah?
It's okay on my end, but I know why it's okay. It's because I have a GPU with more than 12 gigs of VRAM. Now, if you are someone who doesn't have that, this game aggressively scales. Even at 1080p, if you're playing at HD on a 3070, for example, a good video card,
that's my
just
card.
with 8 gigs of memory. If you're playing at 1080p and you decide, I want to be on ultra settings because, hey, it's 1080p and I've got a 3070, you will just have a bad time.
I know.
Like, it will fill up your VRAM like crazy. You'll get stutters. So that is just one of the pieces of the puzzle that's like broken there. Naughty Dog have put out a lot of hot fixes to try and address crashes because like the game would, again, with your VRAM, when it filled up, just crash. Just
nice.
Done. And it's kind of crappy because it's kind of showing like it shouldn't be like that when you're playing at such a low resolution. Like you can drop the settings, sure, but like the 3070 is a card that if you're playing at 1080p, you expect to like I'm scaling back resolution so I can up the settings, but it's like no. Irrespective of what resolution you go, you can only be at these settings because of your VRAM for a card that is barely like 4 years old.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. Weird. Bizarre. Don't know how this thing even runs on the Steam Deck, but it does. It does. Great. But yeah.
But it's out there.
Yeah. It's also quite demanding, I think. Like I've seen performance numbers for like a 4090 that at 1080p it's only hitting 160 frames on a 4090.
Like what?
That thing is leagues ahead of like a PS5. And
It's
this is
crazy.
at 1080p. At 4K, it's barely holding above 60.
That's
The fuck's going on? Yeah. Nah, it's crazy.
And then last piece of news this week.
Hell yes.
Sonic
is
in
dead.
Sega's new game, The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog. So this broke. So this is Saturday for us recording. It broke last night on Friday evening.
Just before.
So, Sega like, yo, there's a new Sonic game. And on Twitter, we saw it on Twitter. You shared the link like, hey, there's a new Sonic game, The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog. And people like, oh, good one, Sega. April Fools, you got us, you know. And Sega being like, no, here's a Steam link. This is an actual game.
This is a game you can play right now on Steam for free.
It's free to play. It exists. Here you go. So I don't know. I had a look at the Steam page earlier. There are already like nearly 4,000 user reviews, and
I've bought it. I've downloaded that thing.
Yeah,
I'm in.
So you can give us a review next week. Like, what is this?
It's according to Steam, it's oh God, where is the description's funny. Sonic the Hedgehog was murdered? Get to the bottom of the mystery in this brand new adventure. That's it. It's real fun. It's apparently like a visual novel adventure game. It looks cool, man. I'm in to see who killed Sonic. I bet it was Shadow.
Oh my God, it's like a proper
actually,
little
I bet
novel.
It was Tails. Tails is like, fuck this guy. I'm going to kill this guy and make it look like Shadow.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I love this. I love when brands are self-aware and just take the piss. Like, because I mean, I haven't watched the trailer, but did you watch the trailer?
Yeah.
Opens with, we heard your feedback. I'm like, who was asking for a Sonic mystery game? But yeah, that's out now on Steam, free to play. Download it. Hit us up in the comments. Tell us who killed Sonic. Don't tell us. Don't spoil it. Okay.
This is the Sonic. What's the Sonic game that came out last year? Frontiers.
Lost Frontiers.
Yeah, this is the Sonic Frontiers sequel you've been waiting for.
Oh my God, I can't. But on that bombshell, that's news for this week.
That is news. That means we're on to questions. If you want to send us a question, you can email us checkpointchatpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on social media at Checkpoint Chat.
Man, and we're in good time here. Power's going to go soon, but we've got time to answer the questions.
Got tons of time. We've also got questions from last week. Yeah,
I didn't get any questions this week.
Oh, okay.
Because I knew we had questions from
last week.
I'm
pretty sure we had an email from last week.
We do. We've got an email from a good pal Milesh who asks,
yes, okay, cool.
With Steam Decks offering great compatibility on a Linux-based OS, have you noticed gamers starting to shift their PCs to Linux now that the compatibility should, in theory, be there? Or is it still Windows and nothing for gaming PCs?
I was actually talking to someone about this yesterday because I think we were talking about like Microsoft's plans to launch Windows 12 next year, and they're going back to like a paid product. It's not going to be a service thing, sort of like Mac OS. When you buy a Mac laptop, you get the OS with it, and every subsequent OS update is free.
Yeah.
Windows tried that obviously with the upgrade path from Windows 8 to 10 to 11, blah, blah, blah. They apparently, according to articles I've read, are ditching that idea, and they're going back to like a yearly, like big, releases, big updates, and it's a paid thing. And the idea of like paying $2,000-3,000 for an OS seems just completely out of touch with where computing is at the moment.
Yeah.
And I agree with Milesh, like Linux is now suddenly a viable option for people who want to give it a go, because Proton, the compatibility layer that the Steam Deck uses, is like scary good. The Steam Deck works because of it, and you've got 75 of the top 100 played games on Steam are all compatible fully with Proton, so it can work on Linux. The issue you run into is right now is a lot of anti-cheat software isn't compatible with Proton, so competitive games like Destiny 2, for example, or Apex Legends, I think, don't work because of, when Proton tries to emulate certain things. Anti-cheat is like, no, you are doing something illegal.
Stay in your lane,
yeah. So that might be a hurdle to cross, but like Valve has made all of this stuff freely available. It has always been freely available, and I've I don't know if I'll ever make the full jump to Linux, just because I'm a creature of habit, and there's certain creature comforts where it's like, if there is ever a program I need, the 99% sure that it will work on Windows, where that's not the case on Linux. But if I was going to make a dedicated gaming PC where all I'm doing is gaming, Linux is 100% viable. And I think it's a really good option. And the community for that keeps growing and growing and growing because, well, Steam Deck made it grow, you know what I mean? So it's totally viable, I think.
I'm glad we had you on the podcast, because I would have been like, I have no idea.
What is Linux? Is that the Penguin OS?
I know what Linux is, but I don't know what's going on here. I'm just here to answer gaming questions. We had one final question from also good pal Gary, aka Geek Physique, last week, who asks, which games have given you the biggest sense of accomplishment? Man, where do we even begin? I think the first one that comes to mind for me, look, it's difficult to say which is the biggest. I don't know if there's a definitive, this is the one that, you know, but there are definitely some examples I can rattle off. I mean, and the first thing that comes to mind is 100%ing Celeste. That game is real good. Like I touched on,
that's no small feat either. 100%ing that game.
But like it's the same thing I touched on Resident Evil earlier, where you hit this point, you're like I'm finally on top of my game. This is manageable, and then they just up it a little bit. It's like, here's harder enemies. Celeste does that, but on a platforming front, where it's like, this is quite challenging, and you wrap your head around like, man, I can't believe I did that room. That is nearly impossible. And in the next room, they're like, okay, it's that room, but it's harder. And you're like, oh my God, I'll never get this done. And the whole game is just you proving that actually you can, like with enough perseverance, you can overcome it. And like the base game itself is challenging, but there are optional B-sides and C-sides which really, really like push that game's mechanics. And they are insanely difficult. But I did it. And like it was a thing of just patience and learning and trying again and again. And man, like I love that game. I can pick it up and play it. And it's funny because now that I've 100%ed it, playing the base game seems easy. But like the base game's not easy. It's just because I've played it enough now. It's like, like this is easy.
Those first few chapters feel trivial once you've played.
Yeah, once you've done the rest some of the harder stuff. Yeah,
which is incredible because you go back to what you felt when you first did them. You're like, wow, this game is just challenging, like straight up just hard.
Give that to somebody.
Blast past them.
Like watching someone who's never played the game before playing it. I'm like, oh man, like what an easy room. They're struggling. I'm like, oh yeah, that was me. Like I also had the exact same reaction of how do I get through this.
Yeah. It is one of those rare games where you can go back and, the sort of skill set you've learned and the sort of progression you've made as a player is so evident but at the same time so believable in a way. Like it's not like you struggled with it because you didn't understand a mechanic. It was just like you were learning, you know, like a child learning something new for the first time and then grasping how it works. That. 100%. I didn't do the B and C sides like you, but even just finishing Celeste was like a big accomplishment that felt really good.
It's good.
I would say for my end, it was just probably Sekiro. Purely because like I came to that game, bounced off of it, didn't really like vibe with that at all. Came back to it like a year or so after the fact, being like, let me give this another go. I think it was when they'd put out a new patch on the console, so it was like smoother and whatever. And when that game clicked, like the satisfaction of getting past some of those like insanely hard challenges in the similar way, like you're talking Celeste, like you encounter a boss for the first time and you die fairly quickly and you're like, this person's impossible. This is impossible. Like I can't see a single window of attack. I can't dodge this. I can't do that. An hour later, you're like, I beat them. Like, I surmounted that task. Like I managed it. And nothing has given me. I've played a lot of Souls games. I like them all, but nothing comes close to the satisfaction of beating that game and killing
Glock
Ishin. The fucking fist bump that I nearly threw my controller across the room just in celebration. Just like I took off my headphones because I was playing late at night and it just did like a silent scream because like I couldn't because it was like 2 days of me trying to beat this fucker, and it was just not through. Whenever I talk about this, people are like, that sounds frustrating. Yes, it is frustrating. Anything you do that is challenging can be frustrating, but you are doing it because you want to overcome it. And the release of emotion overcoming that challenge was just second to none. I've never experienced anything like that in a game. Maybe never will. Just top tier game.
It's good. I mean, I'm right there with you. There's a lot of From moments. I mean, I think the most recent one is Old Millennia and Elden Ring. That was the same thing of, and like again, Elden Ring does let the player, you can really tailor the game to how you want to play it.
Yeah, I cheesed the fuck out of her. Yeah,
I was one of those players like, I don't want to do that. I want to do it just me with my weapons, whatever. And it was the same as you. It was like, it was over 1.5 streams where one stream is me just dying like for 4 hours, 4.5 hours. And
you're just like, this is actually impossible. Like I can't.
I just can't do it. Then the second stream I beat it like halfway through it, and it's like, this took me like 6 to 7 hours to do. But when I did it, I was like,
just kill Millennia.
It was worth it.
Yeah.
Like that feeling. It feels
so good. It is a sense of accomplishment because you did it. You know what I mean? Like the game gave you the tools, but you did it. You executed on what you needed to get it done. So yeah, I think from a different perspective, the accomplishment of finishing Persona 5 was great just because of this sort of time investment it required. It was like 120 hours.
Oh yeah.
Like, and I'm not going to sit here and say I enjoyed every single moment of those 120 hours. The game it's a JRPG. It's padded as fuck at times. Like it is annoying at times, but there is no way I'll go back and be like, that was 120 hours wasted, because by the end of it, like, it's such a good wholesome ending, and it felt like a real journey that I'd gone through with these characters, and I'd accomplished. I guess the accomplishment was finishing Persona 5. Nothing more than that. Like,
yeah, but still.
But yeah, it was good.
Nice.
That's why I desperately want to play Royal again, but
wrapping your head around.
I can't bring myself to do another 100 hours. I just can't. Like, yeah.
It's terrifying. Cool. That is all the questions this week. Thank you. Those were great. Except the Linux one. That one. It's over my
head. If you want to send us more Linux questions, you can email us checkpointchatpodcast@gmail.com. Specifically ask for Matthew's answer. I'm sure he'll enjoy that.
I know. Now the tech questions are like specifically to Matthew.
Yeah.
Blah, blah,
How
blah,
does this
blah.
kernel in Linux improve the performance of Proton emulated games on Steam, and how will it affect Epic Game Store?
Okay, can I please phone
You
a
have
friend?
2 seconds to answer.
Alessandra, please save me.
You can email us checkpointchatpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on all our social platforms at Checkpoint Chat as well. And that has been episode 219 of Checkpoint Chat. We've kept it tight because ESCOM forces us to.
I mean, we still hit an hour and a half just about, so
yeah,
true.
Good. We made it. We did it. Yeah, next week there will be an episode. When it will be recorded, TBD.
Oh,
yeah. Because I'll be jetting off on Friday, so I'm pretty sure we'll do an early podcast. Yeah, probably an early recording, so you can have a free Easter weekend as well.
Nice.
Eat all the hot cross buns.
Nice.
This is an important question. What type of hot cross bun do you eat? Do you eat them at all? I mean, you don't have to.
I like hot cross buns.
The
one with
original.
The
the original.
the
OG.
those.
The OG is good.
I'll
OG is
smash
good.
those.
Extra spicy is good.
I did see at the pantry the other day, though, that they have chocolate hot cross buns.
No.
And I just want to try it just to see what it's like. No.
Sorry.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Can't. Okay.
You can't. You're not allowed to. Yeah.
It's against the
When
law.
you buy one from the pantry,
outlawed.
just throw it in the bin as you leave.
Oh my God.
I dare
That'd
you.
be such a dick move. There you go. Thank you. Walk out in the bin, climb in your car and
Fuck
leave.
you. One more chocolate hot cross bun out of this world.
Oh my God.
I think hot cross buns with chocolate are an affront to hot cross buns.
Yeah, but I think for people who don't like traditional hot cross buns, it's like maybe a fair.
Then don't
middle
eat a hot
ground.
cross bun. Fuck off. Go eat something else.
Oh my God.
No, I'm
Can't gatekeep hot cross buns.
Of course I can.
Good Lord.
It's what the Catholics told us to do.
Hot cross buns.
Pissing off so many people at once, yeah.
My goodness. Oh.
This
have the
has
Pope
been episode.
himself condemning
Yeah,
the
the Pope
podcast.
he's going to come to Benoni, be like, "How dare you?"
Your Pope's ever like, jokes on you, Pope. He doesn't live here anymore. Like, I can't
Little does the
this.
Pope know, I already assaulted his house in December. Haha.
Aha, yeah.
Yeah,
Vatican. The turntables.
I planted the hot cross buns in his home.
Did you plant chocolate hot cross buns?
Yes.
Nice.
This is how we get a new Pope. He just dies of shock. And then they have to do the whole smoke in the chimney thing.
My goodness.
Yeah, it's good times.
Sweet.
Spin Checkpoint Chat, episode 219. Thank you, as always, for listening, and we hope you have a delightful week, a delightful 4-day week, and a 4-day week after that too. Oof.
Best.
And we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.